Tonight we will move slowly through rain-softened animated streets and neighborhoods, places painted to feel like rooms you can rest inside. Breathe, and let the idea settle gently in your mind. There is no plot here, no tension, only calm observation. Only the quiet act of watching, of being present with these gentle, glowing scenes. Let yourself rest in this knowing. There is nothing to solve, nothing to chase. Only light and water and the soft hum of a world at rest. We begin with rain falling softly in steady sheets across a quiet nighttime street, pooling gently on the pavement below. The rain falls without hurry, without noise that startles. It simply falls, touching the ground in a rhythm that repeats and repeats, like breath, like sleep. The water gathers slowly in shallow pools that sit still and dark along the curb, reflecting nothing at first, then holding small pieces of light as the world around them glows. Wet cobblestones gleam beneath a street lamp's warm glow, holding light for a moment before it moves on. Each stone is rounded, uneven, smoothed by years of footsteps and weather. The lamplight touches them and they shine, slick with rain, glowing faintly amber and gold. The light does not stay. It shifts as your eyes move, as your mind drifts. But it returns. It always returns. The cobblestones wait patiently beneath the lamp, catching the glow again and again, soft and steady, like a heartbeat made of light. Neon signs flicker with a soft pink hue, casting their color into the wet air. The pink does not shout. It hums. It glows quietly from a window, from a shop front, from somewhere just out of view. The flicker is gentle, barely noticeable, like the flutter of eyelids growing heavy. The pink mixes with the rain, softening further, becoming something between color and feeling. It spills across the wet glass, across the pavement, a pastel wash that asks nothing of you. Dimly lit windows in cozy houses emit a golden warmth that blurs into the rainy darkness. These windows glow like embers, like distant lanterns. They are small and square and soft-edged in the mist. Inside, you imagine nothing in particular. Only warmth. Only the suggestion of shelter. The gold light seeps outward, meeting the cool blue-gray of the rain-soaked night, and the two colors rest together without conflict, without urgency. The warmth does not call you closer. It simply exists, steady and kind, like a hand on your shoulder. Streetlights cast long shimmering pools of yellow onto slick roads, stretching out in gentle ovals that ripple when the rain disturbs them. The yellow is soft, not harsh. It lies across the asphalt like paint, like honey, spreading slowly and without edges. The pools shimmer because the rain never stops. Each drop touches the surface and sends out a tiny wave, and the light bends, and the yellow trembles just slightly, just enough to remind you that everything here is alive in the quietest way. Raindrops trace slow paths down glass panes, creating rhythmic streaks that catch every glow. They do not rush. They slide, they pause, they gather with other drops and slide again. Each streak is a tiny river, lit from within by the neon, by the street lamps, by the dim gold windows. The glass is cool. The rain is patient. And the streaks, those thin lines of water and light, repeat and repeat, falling in their own time, tracing the same paths over and over, like a lullaby you have heard before and will hear again. Reflections ripple calmly in shallow water gathered at curbsides, bending and swaying with each drop that falls. The water is thin, spread across the concrete in uneven mirrors that catch pieces of the world above and hold them gently below. A streetlight becomes two streetlights. A window becomes two windows. The reflections are not perfect. They waver. They blur at the edges. But they are there, patient and soft, waiting for your gaze to find them and rest. Each drop that touches the surface sends out a slow ring of movement, a circle that grows and fades, and the reflection bends with it, distorting just slightly before returning to stillness. The movement is so gentle you might not notice it at first. But once you do, you cannot look away. It is hypnotic in the quietest way. The water sways, the light sways with it, and you sway too inside, letting go. Puddles hold inverted streetlights like secret, upside-down worlds. In these small pools, the night is doubled. The lamp above glows warm and steady. The lamp below glows just as warm, just as steady, but softer somehow, as if the water has learned to be kinder to light. The glow sits suspended in the puddle, a perfect oval of gold, trembling faintly when the rain whispers against it. It feels like looking into another place, another version of this same gentle night, one that exists only in reflection, only in water, only in rest. Neon outlines of shop signs glow steadily, mirrored perfectly in wet sidewalks, so the world seems to exist twice over, both above and below. The neon is cool and warm at once. Pink, blue, a touch of green. The colors do not compete. They rest beside one another, glowing without effort, without sound. And below, on the slick pavement, the same shapes appear, the same soft letters, the same quiet hum of light. The mirrored world is calm. It does not move unless the rain moves it. And even then, it returns. It always returns. Above and below, the same. Twice the stillness. Twice the glow. Stillness envelopes the avenue as rain falls without end, smoothing every surface and softening every edge. There is no wind. There is no motion except the rain, and the rain is so constant it becomes a kind of stillness itself. It blurs the corners of buildings. It rounds the edges of signs and benches and doorways. Everything is gentler here. Everything has been softened by water, by time, by the endless, patient falling. The avenue does not rush. It does not lead anywhere urgent. It simply is, stretched out before you, drenched and glowing and deeply, deeply still. Window glows from distant apartments spread across the drenched ground, becoming diffused halos that pool near lampposts and corners. The light does not travel far. It spills from the windows and meets the wet pavement and spreads, losing its sharpness, becoming something closer to fog, closer to feeling. These halos are soft-edged and golden, gathering in quiet places where the water has settled. They do not move. They do not fade. They simply rest there, glowing faintly, as if the ground itself has learned to hold warmth. Puddles tremble faintly under streetlight glow, each ripple sending light shivers outward before everything settles again. The trembling is barely there. A drop falls. The surface responds. The light fractures for just a moment, scattering into tiny bright lines that radiate outward like breath, like whispers. And then the water stills. The light gathers itself again. The puddle becomes a mirror once more. The cycle repeats so gently, so endlessly, that you stop counting. You stop watching for the next drop. You simply let it happen, over and over, a rhythm you can sink into, a pulse you can follow down into sleep. Neon greens, reds, and pinks bleed into puddles, forming tranquil, glowing mosaics where colors meet and soften. The green is cool, almost minty, like something from a distant memory of summer. The red is muted, more rose than crimson, gentle against the dark water. The pink is barely there, a whisper of color that hovers at the edge of sight. They do not stay separate. They bleed, slowly, beautifully, into one another. Where green meets pink, there is something new, something unnamed. Where red touches the edge of a ripple, it spreads and thins and becomes part of the water itself. These mosaics are not painted. They are born from light and rain and stillness. They shift slightly when a drop falls, then settle again into their soft, glowing patterns. The colors rest together in the puddles, side by side, overlapping, breathing. They do not compete for attention. They simply glow, each one adding its warmth or coolness to the whole, creating something that feels less like a street and more like a dream, less like a place and more like a feeling. You could watch these mosaics forever. You could let your eyes blur and your thoughts drift and simply rest in the knowledge that these colors will continue to glow, continue to soften, continue to meet and mingle in the rain. Rain whispers against quiet awnings and fills the night with a gentle, repetitive hush that slides into the air like a low, persistent lullaby. The sound is soft, softer than you expect. It does not tap or drum. It whispers. It hushes. Each drop touches the fabric of an awning and is caught, absorbed, held for a moment before sliding down in a thin stream. The rhythm is steady but not mechanical. It sways. It breathes. It repeats without ever feeling repetitive. The hush fills the spaces between buildings, between thoughts, between heartbeats. It slides into the air and stays there, surrounding you, cradling you, a lullaby with no words, no melody, only the quiet insistence of water meeting the world again and again and again. Glossy streets mirror the faint blue of a neon clock or diner sign, doubling the cool color in the downpour. The blue is pale, almost icy, but without coldness. It glows from somewhere across the street, perhaps a clock face with thin hands and numbers that glow softly, or a diner sign promising warmth inside. The street below catches that blue and holds it, stretching it out in a long reflection that trembles slightly under the rain. The blue meets the wet asphalt and becomes something quieter, something softer, a color that feels like evening, like distance, like the edge of sleep. Above and below, the same faint blue, doubled, mirrored, twice as gentle, twice as calm. Lamppost halos expand softly into misty rain, and the mist catches and diffuses that light, so each post appears to breathe its own warm radiance. The rain is so fine here, so soft, that it hangs in the air like fog, like gauze. The lamplight does not cut through it. The light spreads. It expands in gentle circles, glowing outward from the lamp in rings of amber and gold. The mist holds the light and spreads it further, softening it, making it warmer somehow, more alive. Each lamppost seems to exhale light into the night, a slow breath that never ends, a radiance that fills the air around it and asks nothing in return. You can almost feel that warmth on your face, even though you are only watching. You can almost step into that glow and let it surround you. Empty alleys shimmer with reflected window lights, narrow spaces holding small luminous lives of their own. These alleys are tucked between buildings, hidden from the main street, places where the rain falls just as steadily but where fewer eyes wander. The walls are close. The pavement is slick, and scattered along the ground, in puddles and wet stone, are the reflections of windows from upper floors, tiny squares of gold and amber that glow like lanterns, like stars brought low. The alleys are not dark. They are filled with these small lights, these reflections that live only in water, only in stillness. Each one holds a piece of warmth, a suggestion of life, a reminder that even in the narrowest, quietest spaces, there is light. There is always light, and it shimmers patiently, waiting for you to notice, waiting for you to rest your gaze and let it hold you. Raindrops trace individual journeys down window panes, carving tiny, moving rivers that capture and lighten as they fall. Each drop is its own small story, beginning at the top of the glass, hesitating for just a moment, gathering weight, and then sliding. The path it takes is never quite straight. Curves, pauses. It meets another drop and the two become one, heavier now, faster, carving a wider trail through the condensation and the rain-blurred light. These tiny rivers catch the glow from street lamps, from neon signs, from distant windows, and as they move, they carry that light with them, brightening and dimming, brightening and dimming, like little veins of gold and amber traveling slowly downward. You can follow one drop all the way to the bottom of the pane, watching it grow, watching it gather light, watching it finally slip away. And then you can choose another, and another, each one a quiet journey, each one luminous in its own small way. Reflections in the rain-washed street stretch forward and back, creating paths that seem endless as the light moves slowly across the water. The street is no longer just pavement. It is a mirror, a canvas, a second sky lying flat beneath your feet. The reflections do not stop at the curb. They stretch outward, receding into the distance, glowing softly as they go. Streetlights become long corridors of gold. Neon signs become trails of color that lead nowhere and everywhere at once. The paths shimmer. They waver slightly when the rain disturbs them, but they do not disappear. They remain, stretching forward into the misty night, stretching backward toward where you began, creating a sense of endlessness, of gentle infinity. You could walk these paths forever, or you could simply watch them from here, letting your eyes follow the light as it moves, as it ripples, as it holds you in its soft, patient glow. Rain taps a quiet lullaby on eaves and rooftops, a persistent, soft rhythm that blends into the hush of the night. The tapping is gentle, almost tender, like fingertips brushing against wood, against shingles, against the edges of the world. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, a background hum, a rhythm that your heartbeat begins to follow without your noticing. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap. The eaves catch the rain and channel it, guiding it downward in thin streams that join the puddles below. The rooftops hold the rain for a moment before releasing it, and in that moment, there is sound, soft, repetitive, soothing. The lullaby has no words. It has no beginning and no end. It simply continues, weaving itself into the fabric of the night, into the fabric of your breathing, until you cannot tell where the rain stops and sleep begins. Puddles cradle lamplight and neon like delicate bowls, holding color and then letting it ripple away, again and again. The puddles are shallow, uneven, shaped by the contours of the street, by the places where the pavement dips and gathers water. They hold the light so gently, as if they know it is precious, as if they understand that light needs a place to rest. The lamplight sits in the center of a puddle, glowing warm and golden, a perfect circle of radiance. The neon, pink, blue, green, spills across the water surface, soft and diffused. And then a drop falls. The surface trembles. The light ripples outward in rings, distorting, dancing, spreading across the water before it settles again. The puddle cradles the light once more. The cycle repeats. Hold, ripple, settle. Hold, ripple, settle. Over and over, endlessly, a rhythm you can sink into, a motion you can trust. The light is always held. The light is always released. And it always, always returns. The city breathes in a steady, even pulse as the rain continues its soft, steady work. There is no rush here, no urgency. The city does not sleep, but it rests. It exhales mist and lamplight. It inhales the rain, letting the water soak into its streets, its alleys, its quiet corners. The pulse is slow, deep, like the breathing of someone lost in dreams. You can feel it if you stay still enough, if you let yourself become part of this glowing, rain-soaked world. The rain continues. It has always continued. It smooths the edges. It softens the sounds. It fills the night with its gentle, persistent presence. And the city breathes with it in rhythm, in harmony, in a stillness so complete it feels like rest itself. Let yourself breathe with it too. Let the rain do its work. Let the light hold you. Let everything settle, slowly, softly, into sleep. Wet cobblestones and slick pavements capture the steady pulse of amber streetlight reflections, each stone and seam catching a flicker and keeping it for a moment. The cobblestones are old, uneven, fitted together like pieces of a puzzle worn smooth by time and weather. Each one has its own shape, its own slight curve, its own way of holding water. And in that water, in those tiny pools that gather in the low places between stones, the amber light settles. It flickers just barely, as if the light itself is breathing. One stone glows brightly for a moment, then dims as your eye moves on. Another catches the light, holds it, releases it. The seams between the stones, those thin dark lines where the pavement meets and parts, they too catch the glow, becoming threads of gold that trace patterns across the street. Each stone, each seam, each small surface keeps the light for a moment, treasures it, and then lets it go, trusting that more light will come. And it does. It always does. The pavement is slick, polished by rain into something that feels almost like glass. The amber reflections do not sit still. They pulse, softly, steadily, in rhythm with something unseen. Perhaps the flicker of the bulb inside the street lamp, perhaps the gentle sway of mist in the air, perhaps only the beating of your own quiet heart. The pulse is slow. It does not startle. Comforts. It reminds you that even light has a rhythm, a breath, a life of its own. Narrow street corners collect shallow floods of light from overhead fixtures, letting glow settle where walls meet ground. These corners are tucked away, small angles where two buildings come together, where the street bends just slightly, where the rain gathers in deeper pools. The light from above, warm, amber, steady, pours down and finds these places. It does not rush past. It settles. It floods the corner gently, filling the space between wall and ground with a soft, glowing presence. The light pools there, thick and golden, like honey, like warmth made visible. You could step into one of these corners and feel held, surrounded, cradled by the glow. The walls reflect the light back toward the ground. The ground reflects it back toward the walls. And in that exchange, in that gentle conversation between surfaces, the glow multiplies, deepens, becomes something richer, something that feels almost like shelter. Lamplight reflections quiver gently in shallow puddles along the avenue, and streetlights bloom like small moons, casting spheres of soft illumination that fade at the edges. The puddles are everywhere now, scattered along the avenue like mirrors left open to the sky. In each one, a lamp is reflected, sometimes whole, sometimes partial, always quivering, always alive. The quiver is so slight you might miss it if you are not watching closely. But it is there, a gentle trembling caused by the endless rain, by the air moving just barely, by the water itself holding light and motion at once. The reflections are never still, and yet they are never frantic. They simply quiver, softly, like something breathing, like something dreaming. Above, the streetlights bloom. They do not simply shine. They bloom, opening outward into spheres of light that fill the misty air, glowing like small moons brought down to earth. Each sphere is soft at the center, amber and warm, and it fades gradually at the edges, dissolving into the night so gently you cannot say where the light ends and the darkness begins. These spheres overlap, creating layers of glow, pockets of warmth that fill the avenue. You could walk from one sphere to the next, never leaving the light, never stepping fully into shadow. The street lights hold you. They guide you. They bloom for you, soft and constant, like flowers made of warmth. Quiet alleys show their own small worlds of light and shadow, and the wet pavement doubles every flicker into something more luminous. The alleys are narrow, intimate, places where the rain falls just as steadily but where the light is scarcer, more precious. A single bulb above a doorway, a window glowing faintly 3 stories up. a sliver of neon bleeding around a corner. These small lights create their own worlds, casting soft shadows against brick walls, illuminating patches of wet stone, revealing textures and shapes that would otherwise be lost to the night. And below, on the pavement, each flicker is doubled. Each glow finds its reflection and becomes twice as bright, twice as alive. The wet surface catches everything, the amber, the gold, the faint pink and blue, and holds it, multiplies it, makes it more. The alleys are not empty. They are filled with these small luminous lives, these pockets of light that glow quietly, asking nothing, offering everything. You could lose yourself in one of these alleys, watching the interplay of light and shadow, watching the rain create new reflections with every moment, watching the world double itself again and again into something softer, something gentler, something that glows. Neon letters and outlines reflect upside down in shallow water, the shapes swaying with hypnotic ease. The letters are backwards now, mirrored, transformed into something dreamlike. A word spelled out above becomes a mystery below, its meaning softened, its edges blurred by the gentle movement of water. The outlines, curves and angles, loops and lines, sway as the rain touches the surface, bending slightly, stretching, contracting, dancing without sound. The movement is hypnotic, slow enough to follow, endless enough to lose yourself in. You watch a letter ripple, reform, ripple again. You watch the shapes pulse gently with each drop, each breath of air. There is no rush to understand. There is only the swaying, the soft persistence of light reflected in water, the quiet invitation to watch and drift and let your thoughts dissolve into the rhythm of it all. Misty rain softens the edges of persistent sign, glows so colors blur like memory. The neon does not shine sharply here. The rain has gentled it, wrapped it in mist, made it kind. The edges of each letter, each shape, each glowing outline, they blur, spreading outward into the damp air like watercolor on wet paper. The colors do not stay contained. They leak, they breathe, they mingle with the mist and become something softer than light, something closer to feeling. Pink becomes a suggestion. Blue becomes a whisper. Green hovers at the edge of sight, present but not insistent. These colors blur like memory, not quite clear, not quite gone, lingering in a way that feels both distant and intimate. You remember them even as you see them. You see them even as they fade. And they do not fade completely. They persist, glowing gently through the mist, through the rain, through the soft veil of night. Cozy window panes streak with droplets that diffuse warm interior light outward. The windows are small, simple, framed in wood or painted trim, glowing from within with the warmth of lamps, of lives being lived quietly inside. The droplets cling to the glass, each one a tiny lens that catches the interior light and bends it, spreads it, sends it outward into the night. The light does not escape cleanly. It diffuses, softening as it passes through water, becoming gentler, warmer, more welcoming. Each streak down the glass is a river of amber, of gold, glowing softly as it moves. The light spills outward, touching the rain-soaked air, touching the street below, creating halos around each window, small zones of warmth that feel like home, like safety, like the promise of rest. You do not need to go inside. The warmth reaches you here, diffused and gentle, enough to remind you that somewhere, someone is warm, someone is safe, someone is at peace. Storefront signs shimmer in collected water, making the pavement into a slow-moving tapestry of hue. The storefronts line the street, their signs glowing steadily. Some neon, some painted, some simply lit from within. And below them, the pavement has become a canvas. The water has collected in uneven sheets, in puddles and streams, and every sign is reflected there, shimmering, trembling, alive. The shimmer is constant but never the same twice. The water moves. The light moves with it. Colors shift and blend, overlapping in ways that feel accidental and perfect. A pink sign meets a blue reflection. An orange glow spreads beside a violet outline. The pavement is no longer gray. It is a tapestry woven from light and water, from rain and reflection. A slow-moving artwork that changes with every drop, every ripple, every breath of wind. You could walk across this tapestry and feel as though you are walking through color itself, through light made tangible, through beauty that asks nothing of you but your presence. Neon pinks, violets, and soft oranges fade and mingle, painting the slick sidewalks in quiet strokes that invite the eye to linger without urgency. The colors do not shout. They do not demand. They simply exist, glowing softly on the wet surface, blending into one another with a gentleness that feels intentional, deliberate, kind. Pink fades into violet so gradually you cannot find the moment of transition. Violet softens into orange, and the orange glows warmly before it too fades back into pink. The cycle is endless, the mingling constant, and yet there is no chaos here, no confusion. Only quiet strokes of color, brushed across the sidewalk by light and rain, by the patient work of reflection. Your eye is invited to linger. There is no urgency, no need to move on, to look away, to find the next thing. You can rest here, in this glow, in these colors that fade and mingle and paint the world in shades of calm. You can let your gaze soften. You can let your thoughts drift. You can simply be, held by the quiet strokes of neon and rain, by the slick sidewalks that glow like dreams, by the night that wraps around you, soft and luminous and endlessly gentle. Streetlights pierce the downpour to create elongated pools of golden calm across empty roads. The rain falls heavily, steadily, a curtain of water that fills the air and blurs the world. But the streetlights pierce through. They do not fight the rain. They simply glow, and their glow is strong enough, warm enough, persistent enough to cut through the downpour and reach the ground below. Where the light lands, it spreads into elongated pools, ovals and ellipses of golden calm that stretch across the empty asphalt. These pools are not bright. They are soft, glowing gently, marking the road with warmth. The emptiness of the street makes them more precious somehow. There are no cars, no footsteps, no movement except the rain. Only these pools of light, arranged like stepping stones, like markers of stillness, like promises that even in the heaviest rain, there is calm, there is warmth, there is light that endures. Where the light touches water, it becomes luminous and soft, as if floating above the ground. The rain has gathered everywhere now, coating the road in a thin, uneven layer that catches the streetlight and transforms it. The light does not simply rest on the surface. It seems to hover, suspended just above the pavement, glowing from within the water itself. The luminosity is soft, diffused, as if the water has learned to hold light without dimming it, without changing its essential warmth. The effect is otherworldly, dreamlike. The light floats. The ground beneath seems distant, unimportant. What matters is this layer of glowing water, this surface that has become something more than pavement, something closer to sky, to cloud, to the soft in-between places where light and mist and rain become one. A single street lamp's beam makes the air visible, the mist turning the light into something tangible the eye can follow. You focus on one lamp, just one, standing tall and steady at the edge of the road. Its beam pours downward, a column of amber light that cuts through the misty rain. And in that light you can see the air itself. The mist catches the beam, holds it, reveals it. Tiny droplets suspended in the air glow like particles of gold, swirling slowly, drifting, dancing in currents too subtle to feel but visible now in the light. The beam is no longer invisible. It is tangible, solid, almost a pillar you could reach out and touch. Your eye follows it downward, tracing the light from the lamp to the ground, watching the way it illuminates each layer of mist, each drift of rain, making the invisible visible, making the air a thing of beauty. Empty walkways gleam under overhead beams while puddles mirror the infinite patience of glowing posts. The walkways run alongside the road, lined with posts that hold their lamps high, casting light downward in steady, even pools. The pavement gleams, slick with rain, reflecting the beams in long streaks of brightness. There are no footprints, no signs of passage. The walkways are empty, waiting, patient. And in the puddles that have gathered along their edges, the lampposts are mirrored perfectly, tall, slender, glowing softly at the top. The reflections do not waver. They hold still, embodying the infinite patience of these posts that stand through rain and night and silence, glowing without question, without complaint, simply fulfilling their quiet purpose. The puddles honor this patience, mirroring it back, doubling the light, doubling the calm, creating a symmetry that feels almost sacred in its stillness. The whole avenue feels arranged into a slow sequence of small, steady lights. One lamp, then another, stretching into the distance, each one glowing at the same gentle intensity, each one standing at the same patient interval. The sequence is deliberate, rhythmic, like notes in a slow song, like breaths in meditation. You can count them if you wish, or you can simply let your gaze travel from one to the next, feeling the rhythm, trusting the pattern. The lights do not rush. They do not crowd. They are spaced perfectly, each one offering its glow, its warmth, its small sphere of illumination before the next one takes over. The avenue unfolds in this sequence, light by light, moment by moment, a procession of calm that stretches as far as you can see. There is no destination. There is only the sequence itself, the slow unfolding of light and rain and stillness, the gentle assurance that the lights will continue, one after another, steady and small and endlessly patient. Reflections sway like dreams in the street's shallow waters, distorted gently by falling droplets. The water lies thin across the pavement, barely deep enough to call a pool, yet deep enough to hold the world above and transform it. The reflections are not crisp. They sway, bending and curving with the movement of water, with the touch of rain, with the subtle shifts in air that you cannot see but can sense in the way the images move. They sway like dreams, soft, uncertain, beautiful in their impermanence. A streetlight becomes a wavering column of gold. A neon sign becomes a ribbon of color that undulates gently, never quite settling into sharpness. The falling droplets distort these reflections further, each one creating a moment of ripple, a brief disturbance that sends the images swaying in new directions before they resettle, only to be disturbed again. The cycle is endless, hypnotic. The reflections sway and sway, dreaming themselves into new shapes with every breath of rain. Neon edges blur into the downpour, creating a calming tapestry of overlapping color. The neon signs, those glowing outlines and letters that mark storefronts and cafes and quiet shops, they do not fight the rain. They surrender to it. Their edges blur, softened by the mist and the water, their light bleeding outward into the damp air. The colors overlap now, no longer contained by their original shapes. Pink spills into the space where blue glows. Green touches orange, and the two create something new, something unnamed, something that exists only here, only now in this rain-soaked moment. The tapestry they create is calming, gentle, a woven pattern of light and color that has no hard lines, no sharp transitions. Everything flows into everything else. Everything overlaps. And in that overlapping, in that blurring, there is peace. There is softness. There is the quiet assurance that boundaries do not matter here, that everything can coexist, everything can blend, everything can glow together in harmony. Puddles hold mosaics of green and red and pink, their surfaces collecting light like glass. The puddles are scattered across the street, small and large, shallow and deep, each one a tiny vessel waiting to be filled with light. And the light comes, green from a distant sign, red from a stoplight that glows even though no cars pass, pink from a neon outline that hums softly in the mist. The puddles collect these colors, gathering them on their surfaces the way glass catches and holds a reflection. But these are not simple reflections. They are mosaics, fragmented and beautiful, each puddle holding multiple colors at once, each one a small world of light pieced together from the glowing sources above. The green sits beside the red, the pink pools at the edge. The colors do not mix into brown or gray. They remain distinct, yet together, creating patterns that shift and shimmer with every drop of rain. Each tiny pool is a painting that shifts with every patter of rain. You could kneel beside one and watch it for hours. Watch the green glow brighten as a ripple passes through. Watch the red spread and contract. Watch the pink tremble at the edge, then settle, then tremble again. Every drop that falls changes the painting. A new ripple, a new distribution of light, a new arrangement of color. The painting is never finished. It is always in motion, always becoming, always shifting into something new. And yet it is always beautiful, always calm. The patter of rain is the artist's hand, touching the surface again and again, rearranging the light with infinite patience, infinite care. The wet ground cradles these luminous pieces, letting them nestle together into broader, quieter patterns that repeat along the boulevard. The ground is no longer just pavement. It has become a cradle, a resting place for light. Each puddle, each reflection, each glowing piece of neon and lamplight, they are cradled here, held gently by the wet surface, allowed to exist without pressure, without demand. They nestle together, these luminous pieces, like stones in a mosaic, like petals in a garden, creating broader patterns that stretch along the boulevard. The patterns are quiet. They do not announce themselves. They simply unfold, repeating with gentle variation as you move down the street. A cluster of pink and green here, a pool of amber and blue there. The patterns echo one another, creating a sense of rhythm, of continuity, of a world that has been carefully, lovingly arranged. And yet you know it is not arranged. It is simply rain and light and the patient work of reflection. But it feels arranged, feels intentional. It feels like a gift, offered freely, asking only that you notice, that you linger, that you let yourself be cradled too, held gently by the luminous beauty of this rain-soaked, glowing night. Still air holds the scent of wet stone and damp pavement, cool and clean beneath a lone lamp's beam, and that small olfactory presence makes the scene feel lived and immediate. The air is not moving. It sits still, thick with moisture, heavy with the weight of rain that has been falling for hours, for what feels like forever. And in that stillness, there is scent. You can almost smell it now, even as you watch the cool mineral scent of wet stone, ancient and grounding, the smell of rock that has absorbed water and is holding it, breathing it back out into the night. The damp pavement adds its own note, slightly sharper, tinged with the faint residue of the day's warmth now cooled and washed clean. It is a scent that speaks of earth and water, of cities and rain, of surfaces transformed by weather into something softer, something gentler. Beneath the lone lamp's beam, this scent seems to concentrate, to become more present, as if the light itself makes the air more real, more tangible. That small olfactory presence, barely there, yet unmistakable, makes the scene feel lived and immediate. Not just something to watch, but something to inhabit. something real. Rain softens even texture, turning hard edges into gentle gradients. The brick walls, once rough and defined, are now smoothed by water, their surfaces darkened and slick, their edges blurred where the light touches them. The stone curbs, sharp-cornered and solid, have become rounded in appearance, their hardness gentled by the constant fall of rain. Even the pavement, that unforgiving surface, seems softer now, its cracks and seams filled with water, its texture obscured beneath a layer of wet shine. The rain does not erase these things. It softens them, transforms hard into gentle, sharp into gradual. Where there were edges, there are now gradients, smooth transitions from light to shadow, from wet to dry, from one surface to another. Everything flows. Everything blends. The world has been made kinder by water, made easier on the eye, easier on the heart. The light caught on stone and brick becomes tender and quiet. The lamplight falls on these softened surfaces and something changes. The light does not glare. It does not bounce harshly back. Instead, it sinks slightly into the wet stone, into the damp brick, and glows from within, as if the surfaces themselves have learned to be luminous. The glow is tender, gentle in a way that feels almost affectionate, as if the light is touching the stone with care, with reverence. It is quiet light, not loud, not demanding attention, but present in a way that comforts. The brick glows a muted amber. The stone holds a soft gold. The light and the rain have worked together to create something beautiful, something that asks you to look closely, to notice, to appreciate the tenderness of this moment, this meeting of light and water and ancient surfaces that have stood through countless nights just like this one. The city's breathing deepens as rain taps evenly on silent rooftops and leaves. The rain has found new surfaces now. It taps on rooftops, tile and shingle and metal, each one creating its own soft note, its own contribution to the symphony of water meeting the world. It taps on leaves, those few that remain, hanging from branches or tucked in planters along the street, each leaf a small drum that resonates gently under the rain's touch. The tapping is even steady, persistent. It does not rush. It does not falter. It simply continues, measure after measure, a rhythm that underlies everything else. And the city breathes with it. You can feel the breathing now, deeper than before, slower, more settled. The city inhales the rain, drawing it down into streets and gutters and the hidden places beneath the pavement. The city exhales mist and warmth and the soft glow of lamplight. The breathing deepens with every moment, with every tap of rain, with every surface that receives the water and gives back sound. That steady sound becomes a heartbeat underneath every glowing reflection. It is there, always, beneath the shimmer of puddles, beneath the glow of neon, beneath the amber pools of streetlight. Tap, tap, tap. A heartbeat, steady, even, unchanging. It anchors everything. It reminds you that this world, this glowing rain-soaked night, is alive. It breathes, it beats, continues. The reflections tremble and sway. The colors blur and blend. The light shifts and softens. But underneath it all, always, is that heartbeat. That steady tap of rain on rooftops and leaves, on stone and pavement, on every surface that can receive it. The heartbeat holds you, steadies you. It invites you to sync your own breathing, your own pulse, to its calm, unwavering rhythm. And as you do, as you let yourself fall into that steady sound, you feel yourself sinking deeper, settling further, letting go completely into the gentle, glowing, rain-filled embrace of this quiet, breathing city. Nighttime windows flicker like distant stars, their inner light pooling in the rain below and gathering as small, bright circles on sidewalks and in gutters. High above the street, the windows glow, some steady, some flickering slightly as movement passes within, as curtains shift, as someone walks from one room to another. They are scattered across the facades of buildings, irregular and beautiful, like stars in a sky made of brick and stone. Each window is its own small universe, holding light that spills downward through the rain-filled air. That light travels, softening as it falls, spreading as it meets the mist, until it reaches the ground and pools there in small, bright circles. These circles gather on sidewalks, glowing softly against the wet concrete. They collect in gutters, turning those dark channels into streams of amber and gold. Each circle is a gift from the window above, a piece of warmth sent down to the street, a reminder that somewhere up there, life continues, quiet and safe and glowing. Desk lamps, kitchen lights, and the occasional television glow spread outward through streaked glass, diffusing into the mist until the interior and exterior seem to wash together. You can almost see into the rooms now, not clearly but in feeling. A desk lamp glows warm and focused, perhaps illuminating papers, a book, someone working late into the night or simply sitting in companionable silence with their thoughts. A kitchen light burns bright and practical, casting a yellow glow that speaks of warmth, of meals being prepared or cleaned away, of the small rituals of home. And here and there, the cooler, flickering glow of a television, blue-white and ghostly, painting the walls of a living room with moving light. These lights spread outward through the glass, but the glass is streaked with rain, covered in droplets that catch and bend and diffuse the light as it passes. The light does not stay contained. It bleeds outward into the mist, into the rain-filled air, blurring the boundary between inside and outside. The interior warmth washes into the exterior night. The cool rain seems to seep toward the glowing windows. And for a moment, everything washes together. Warmth and cold, inside and outside, light and rain, all blending in the misty air into something unified, something whole. Apartment lights appear like constellations on the urban face. The buildings rise tall, their facades punctuated with windows, dozens of them, hundreds perhaps, each one a point of light. Together, they form patterns, clusters and lines, bright groupings and sparse stretches. Constellations mapped not onto the sky but onto the face of the city itself. You could name them if you wished. The kitchen constellation, the late-night reader, the cluster of blue television glow. They shift slowly as lights turn on and off, as people settle in for the night or rise to move through their homes. The constellations are not fixed. They breathe, they change, but they are always there, always glowing, marking the presence of lives being lived, of warmth held within walls, of light that refuses to be extinguished by the rain or the night or the weight of darkness. When their reflections meet puddles, the whole street feels dotted with tiny, constant suns. Below, on the street, the puddles have multiplied. They are everywhere now, covering the pavement in an uneven mirror that catches every light from above. The apartment windows, those constellations, find their twins below. Each glowing window is reflected, sometimes perfectly, sometimes fragmented by ripples, but always present, always glowing. The puddles hold these reflections like treasures, and suddenly the street is no longer just a street. It is a galaxy. It is dotted with tiny suns, constant and warm, glowing from both above and below. You walk through a universe of light, stars above in the windows, stars below in the water. The whole street feels alive with illumination, with the persistence of light against darkness, with the quiet constancy of these tiny suns that burn without heat, that glow without fading, that hold you in their gentle, doubled radiance as the rain continues to fall, as the night deepens, as the world settles into its softest, most luminous self. Rain creates veils of fine mist around glowing signs, muting their edges and making them soft to the eye. The mist is everywhere now, so fine it is barely visible as individual droplets, more like a presence, a texture in the air itself. It hangs around the glowing signs, those neon outlines and illuminated letters that mark shops and cafes, wrapping them in gauze, in silk, in something gossamer and gentle. The edges of the signs, once sharp and defined, are muted now, softened by the veil of mist that catches their light and spreads it, blurs it, makes it kind. The pink glow of an open sign becomes a cloud of pink. The blue outline of a storefront name dissolves at its boundaries, bleeding softly into the surrounding air. Nothing is harsh here. Nothing cuts. Everything is soft to the eye, easy to look at, easy to rest upon without effort or strain. Through that veil the signs are dreamlike, their outlines indistinct as though seen through sleep. You are not entirely sure what the signs say anymore. The letters are there, glowing, present, but they waver slightly, their forms uncertain, as if you are seeing them through closed eyelids, through the haze of almost sleep when the world becomes softer and less insistent. The signs do not demand to be read. They simply glow, offering their light without expectation, without message. They are dreamlike in the truest sense, beautiful, present, yet somehow not quite real, not quite solid. They exist in that liminal space between waking and sleeping, between clarity and mystery, and they invite you to rest there with them, to let your focus soften, to let the world become indistinct and gentle and perfectly, peacefully unclear. Quiet awnings shelter doorways while the rain continues to patter. The awnings stretch out from buildings, fabric or metal, striped or solid, offering their small shelter to the doorways beneath. The rain patters on them, a different sound than on rooftops, softer, more intimate, like fingers drumming gently on canvas. Beneath the awnings, the doorways wait, recessed slightly into the buildings, holding their own small pockets of space. The space beneath is slightly drier, not completely dry, for the mist still reaches here, and the rain sometimes blows sideways, but drier than the open street, protected by the awning's generous reach. It is slightly warmer too, or feels warmer, sheltered from the full force of the rain, holding on to the last traces of heat that escape from the buildings themselves. And yet the space is still touched by the song of falling water. The patter continues above. The rain falls just beyond the awning's edge, visible, audible, present. You could stand beneath one of these awnings and feel sheltered without feeling separate, protected without feeling isolated. The song of falling water surrounds you, embraces you, reminds you that you are still part of this rain-soaked night, still connected to its rhythm, its breath, its gentle persistence. The awning offers respite, but not escape. And that is exactly right. That is exactly what you need. Alleyways shimmer with reflected window lights and overhead fixture pools, each small opening holding its own hush within the greater night. The alleyways are narrow passages between buildings, barely wide enough for two people to pass, shadowed and intimate. But they are not dark. They shimmer. The window lights from upper floors, those small, warm glows that speak of lives being lived, they spill down into these alleyways, catching on wet brick, on slick pavement, creating pools of gold and amber that glow softly in the darkness. Overhead fixtures, simple bulbs mounted above back doors or service entrances, cast their own pools downward, circles of light that illuminate small sections of the alley, revealing textures, creating shadows, making the space feel both mysterious and safe. Each small opening holds its own hush within the greater night. The alleyways are quieter than the main street, more sheltered, more enclosed. The sound of rain is softer here, filtered by the nearness of walls, by the way sound behaves in narrow spaces. There is a hush, a sense of privacy, of intimacy. Each alley is its own small world, its own pocket of stillness carved out of the larger night. And yet they are all part of the same night, The same rain, the same gentle darkness. The hush in one alley echoes the hush in another. They hold silence together, these small openings, creating a network of quiet that runs through the city like veins, like whispers, like the soft spaces between heartbeats where rest lives and waits and welcomes you home. Diner and storefront signs glow softly, and their light spills little rectangles onto wet pavement. A steady, focused warmth in an otherwise dim block. The signs are simple, practical, the kind that announce a diner's name in bold letters or mark a storefront with clear, readable type. They glow with purpose, with the quiet dignity of lights that have been turned on at dusk and will remain on until dawn, steady and unchanging. Their light does not reach far. It spills downward in neat, contained shapes, rectangles and squares that fall onto the pavement below, marking the wet surface with patches of warmth. These little rectangles of light are gifts in the darkness, small zones of illumination that break up the dim block, that offer visual resting places for the eye. The warmth is steady, not flickering, not fading, but constant and reliable. It is focused, contained within those geometric shapes, yet somehow it feels generous, as if the light knows exactly how much to give, exactly where to rest, exactly how to balance brightness with the surrounding dimness. The block itself is dim, not dark. The rain and the night have softened everything, have pulled the world into shadow, but these little rectangles of light, spilling from diner signs, from storefront windows, from the simple illuminated names of businesses closed for the night but still glowing, they hold the darkness at bay without fighting it. They coexist, the dim and the warm, the shadow and the glow. The pavement accepts the light gratefully, its wet surface making the rectangles brighter somehow, more luminous, as if the water amplifies the warmth, spreads it just slightly beyond its original boundaries. You could walk this block guided only by these little patches of light, stepping from one rectangle to the next, finding your way through the gentle geometry of glow and shadow. Vending machines and small kiosks stand as tiny islands of color, their gentle LEDs reflected in puddles like calm beacons. Scattered along the street, tucked into alcoves or standing freely near corners, these machines wait. Vending machines offering drinks and snacks, small kiosks perhaps selling newspapers or tickets or trinkets. They are closed, quiet, but not dark. Their displays glow with gentle LEDs, blues and greens and reds that pulse softly, that shine with a cooler, more modern light than the warm amber of street lamps. Each machine is its own tiny island, a small point of color in the rain-soaked night, glowing steadily, reliably, as if to say, I am here. I remain. The colors are not harsh. The LEDs are set to a gentler brightness, perhaps dimmed for the night, perhaps naturally soft in their design. They do not assault the eye. They invite it. And below, in the puddles that have gathered near these machines, the reflections appear, perfect mirrors of blue and green and red, glowing just as steadily, just as gently as their sources above. The puddles turn these tiny islands into calm beacons, doubling their presence, making them more visible, more reassuring. You see a vending machine's blue glow and, below it, another blue glow in the water, and together they create a sense of symmetry, of balance, of calm. These are not emergency beacons. They do not flash or call for attention. They are calm beacons, steady and patient, marking safe points in the night, offering their quiet company to anyone who passes, promising that even in the deepest hours, there is light, there is color, there is something glowing and kind. A neon clock's faint blue holds time in the rain, its glow doubling into the street and suggesting the slow, visible passage of night rather than a sudden change. Somewhere, perhaps mounted on a building's corner, perhaps visible through a shop window, perhaps standing alone on a post, there is a clock. Its numbers glow with faint blue neon, old-fashioned and elegant, each digit outlined in light. The hands move, but so slowly you cannot see them move. You look away, you look back, and perhaps a minute has passed, perhaps 5, but the change is so gradual, so gentle, that it feels less like time passing and more like time simply being, existing, holding steady in the rain. The clock's glow is faint, not bright enough to illuminate much beyond itself, but enough to be seen, to be read, to mark the hour for anyone who looks. And that glow doubles into the street below, reflected in the wet pavement, in a puddle that is formed directly beneath, creating a second clock, an inverted twin that glows just as faintly, just as blue. The doubling suggests something, not urgency, not the ticking pressure of time running out, but rather the slow, visible passage of night. Time is moving, yes, but it is moving like the rain falls. Steadily, patiently, without rush. The night is passing, but it is passing gently, measurably, in a way that feels almost comforting. You can see it happening. You can watch the night unfold, minute by minute, reflected both above and below in faint blue neon. There is no sudden change here. No alarm, no jolt, no moment when everything shifts abruptly from one state to another. Only this slow, visible passage. The clock hands moving so gradually they seem still, the night deepening so gently you barely notice, the rain continuing its endless, patient work. The clock holds time not as something to be chased or feared, but as something to be witnessed, to be accompanied, to be trusted. Time is here, the night is here, and both will unfold exactly as they should, slowly, visibly, held in faint blue light that doubles itself in the rain-soaked street and asks nothing of you except that you notice, that you breathe, that you let yourself move through this night at the same patient pace, letting each moment arrive and settle and pass in its own gentle time. Slow zoom-outs reveal whole blocks where many small lights join into a larger, gentle pattern. If you pull back, if you let your view widen, you begin to see not just individual lights but the way they connect, the way they speak to one another across distance. A single window's glow becomes part of a row of lit windows, marching up the side of a building in neat vertical lines. One lamppost's pool of light becomes part of a series, stepping down the sidewalk in measured intervals, each one the same distance from the next, each one glowing with the same warm amber constancy. A lone neon sign's pink glow joins with others, blue here, green there, orange around the corner, and together they weave into something larger, something cohesive, a quiet grid of color that maps the block in light. The pattern is gentle, never aggressive, never overwhelming. It emerges slowly as your perspective widens, revealing itself the way a constellation reveals itself when you step back from looking at individual stars. These are rows of lit windows, scattered but somehow rhythmic, creating horizontal bands of warmth across building facades. These are lamppost pools stepping down sidewalks, one after another, their spacing so regular it feels almost musical, a visual rhythm you can count, can follow, can trust. These are neon slices, thin lines and curves of color, woven into the grid of streets and buildings, adding brightness without chaos, adding color without confusion. The pattern holds, it steadies. It shows you that even in the vastness of the block of the neighborhood, there is order, there is intention, there is a gentle architecture of light that connects everything. Reflections lengthen and stretch into lines that seem to go on forever, the street becoming a mirror-bright ribbon across the neighborhood. From this wider view, the reflections are no longer just small pools and isolated patches. They connect. The wet pavement catches every light source and stretches their reflections out along its surface, creating long, luminous lines that run parallel to the street, that follow its curves, that extend into the distance until they fade into mist and darkness. The street is no longer just pavement. It has become a ribbon, mirror-bright and glowing, laid across the neighborhood like a path of light. The reflections lengthen impossibly, stretching forward and back, creating the illusion that the street goes on forever, that you could walk this glowing ribbon endlessly and never reach an end. The ribbon shimmers slightly, trembling with the rain, but it does not break. It holds together, continuous and bright, a thread of light that ties the neighborhood together, that connects block to block, lamp to lamp, window to window. You can follow this ribbon with your eyes, tracing its path through the rain-soaked streets, watching how it bends gently around corners, how it narrows and widens with the contours of the road, how it carries the reflections of everything above, streetlights, neon signs, windows, the faint glow of the sky, and presents them below in one long, unbroken line of luminous beauty. The repetition of light, color, and rain creates a soft architecture of habit and routine. This is not random. This is not chaos. There is structure here, built not from concrete and steel but from light repeating itself, from color appearing again and again in predictable places, from rain falling in its endless, reliable rhythm. The lampposts appear at regular intervals, habit. The windows glow at the same hours each night, routine. The neon signs flicker on at dusk and remain until dawn, pattern. The rain falls without ceasing, touching every surface in the same gentle way, constancy. Together, these elements create an architecture, a framework, a structure you can lean against and trust. It is soft architecture, not rigid or demanding, but present and supportive. It holds the world in place not through force but through repetition, through the comfort of knowing that the lights will be there, that the rain will continue, that the reflections will form in the same places they formed the night before and will form again the night after. This is the architecture of habit, the structure of routine, and there is deep safety in it, deep peace. The world is ordered. Not perfectly, not sterile, but ordered enough to feel comprehensible, navigable, kind. The world is predictable and safe in its steady rhythm. You know what will happen next. The rain will fall. The lights will glow. The reflections will form and shimmer and hold. The lampposts will stand at their intervals. The windows will continue to emit their warmth. The neon will hum its quiet song. There are no surprises here, and that is exactly what makes it safe. The predictability is not boring. It is comforting. It is the steady rhythm of a heartbeat, of breathing, of the tide rising and falling. It is the rhythm you can sync with, can trust, can let yourself relax into completely. The world asks nothing unexpected of you here. It simply continues, steady and true, light after light, drop after drop, reflection after reflection, weaving its soft architecture around you, holding you in its gentle pattern, letting you rest in the knowledge that this rhythm will not break, will not falter, will carry you through the night with the same patient care it has shown to every surface, every light, every small glow that dots these rain-softened animated streets. As the rain continues its endless, gentle cadence, the glows grow calmer and the reflections less restless, until the whole city seems to exhale and fold itself into the night. The rain has been falling for so long now that it has become not just a presence but a state of being, the natural condition of this world. Its cadence is endless, unhurried, gentle beyond measure. And as it continues, as the night deepens around it, something shifts. The glows, all those lights that have been shining steadily throughout, they grow calmer somehow, softer, as if they too are settling into rest. The neon dims just slightly, not fading but gentling. The street lamps glow with a warmth that feels more peaceful, more resigned to the night. The window lights seem to breathe more slowly, their flicker less frequent, their presence more still. The reflections, those beautiful mirrors in puddles and on wet pavement, they grow less restless. The ripples come less often now, or perhaps you simply notice them less, your attention softening, your focus drifting. The reflections hold more steadily, trembling less, settling into their shapes with a patience that feels final, complete. The water is calmer. The light is calmer. Everything is calming, settling, finding its place in the deepening night. And the whole city seems to exhale. You can feel it, one long, slow breath outward, releasing the day, releasing effort, releasing everything that does not serve this moment of rest. The city exhales mist and warmth and the soft glow of 1,000 gentle lights. It exhales the sound of rain and the hush of empty streets. It exhales peace. And in exhaling, it folds itself into the night, drawing inward, becoming smaller, quieter, more intimate. The vast neighborhood becomes a collection of glowing points. The blocks become pockets of light. The streets become ribbons of reflection that lead nowhere urgent, nowhere demanding, only deeper into stillness, deeper into rest. Puddles hold one last soft mosaic of light. You look down and there they are, those small pools of water scattered across the pavement, each one holding its collection of colors, its arrangement of glows. Green and pink and amber and blue, all resting together in the water's surface, all glowing softly one last time before the night takes them fully into its care. The mosaics are complete now. No more drops to disturb them, or if drops still fall, they fall so gently that the mosaics barely shift, barely respond. The patterns hold. The colors rest. This is the final arrangement. The last soft mosaic, beautiful and still and perfect in its imperfection. Lamp halos fade into steady spheres. The halos that have been blooming around each street lamp, those expanding circles of light and mist, they fade now, not disappearing but condensing, resolving into steady spheres that glow without reaching, that illuminate without expanding. Each lamp holds its sphere close, a perfect orb of warmth that hovers in the rain-filled air, self-contained and peaceful. The spheres are steady, no longer breathing, no longer pulsing, simply present, simply glowing, marking the street with points of amber constancy that will remain through all the hours until dawn. And the steady patter becomes a full, enveloping hush. The sound of rain, that patter that has accompanied every moment, every reflection, every glow, it transforms. It does not stop, continues, but it becomes something more than sound. It becomes hush, becomes silence that is not empty but full of presence, full of the gentle touch of water meeting world. The hush envelopes everything. It wraps around the lights, around the reflections, around you. It fills the spaces between drops, between breaths, between heartbeats. It is complete. It is total. And it is kind. Rest now with this image. Let it settle in your mind, in your body, in the soft spaces behind your closed eyes. Light mirrored in wet streets. You can see it still, those perfect reflections, those doubled glows, the world existing twice over in luminous symmetry. Color softened by rain. Pink and blue and amber and green, all gentled by water, all blurred into kindness. A slow and constant rhythm that holds everything, the rain, the light, the night itself, all moving together in perfect time, in a rhythm so steady you can trust it with your weight, with your breath, with your letting go. There is nothing left to do. No tasks remain. No questions need answering. No decisions wait for morning. There is only this: the rain, the light, the soft architecture of glowing streets and mirrored reflections. There is only rest. Simply let your breath match the rain. Slow, steady, endless. In and out, like drops falling, like light glowing, like the patient work of water and time. Let your breath become the rain's rhythm. Let your heartbeat sync with that distant patter, with that enveloping hush. You are part of this now, part of the pattern, part of the gentle, glowing world that breathes and rests and continues through the night. And let yourself drift. Let go of holding on. Let go of watching. Let the images blur and soften and fade into something closer to feeling than seeing. Let the colors blend. Let the lights dim. Let the reflections dissolve into the darkness behind your eyes. Let yourself drift like a drop of rain sliding down glass, slow and certain, following the path downward into rest, into sleep, into the deep, peaceful place where light and water and night all meet and hold you, gentle and complete and infinitely, endlessly kind.